Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And we're back today with another totally blind head-to-head where we react to the pours and the prices before we find out what we're drinking.
If it's an available product, is it worth the money?
If it's allocated, is it worth the hype and the hunt?
Stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the channel, bringing a real-world perspective to the real-world whiskey consumer.
We are not professional whiskey tasters. We're normal people, just like you, probably. And what we're going to do today is we're going to randomly select one of these pairs to taste. They're matchups that we put together that are interesting, but it's going to be totally double blind. We're not going to know what's in either glass. That way you get our honest impressions on both pours. In the end, we'll give each pour a real-world score based on the blind tasting, of course, the price and the availability, and whether we would buy it again or not. We're coming at this as whiskey consumers and shoppers just like you, so we want to be able to give you that honest opinion.
So if that sounds like your vibe, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel, hit that bell notification to be notified when we post videos, and yeah, keep watching.
And if you like blind tastings like this, be sure to check out the video description below for a link to our Patreon. That's kind of the interactive element of the channel. We have bonus content over there, 2 additional videos. We do blind tastings with our Patreon community if you want to participate in one of our blind flight nights. We get together and do a once a month live stream for patrons only. And we have all kinds of whiskey nerd info, including a spreadsheet that you get access to with a database kinda of all the scores from all the blind pours that we've tasted here on the channel.
If you'd also like to get any Stuff and Whiskey merch, we just opened a store recently and you can get some hats. We've got sweatshirts, t-shirts,
All kinds of stuff.
all kinds of stuff.
Some tumblers.
Yep, check it out in the video description below at stuffandwhiskey.com.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's run our randomizer and see which one of these 18 pairs from our sample pool we're tasting
Number
today.
2. 1, 2.
Easy peasy. We don't even have to count very far, which is math is not our strong suit. We'll get these poured and we'll be right back with our first impressions on both of these glasses. Let's get into our first impressions on glass 1. Cheers.
Cheers. This smells very sweet on the nose. Very sweet. That's all I'm getting. A lot of sweet.
Yeah, this,
kind of like you.
This smells like some straight up candy on the nose.
Yeah.
Like a sugary candy.
With alcohol.
There's some of that classic bourbon backbone there, but it's buried underneath just a lot of sugary sweetness. Kind of like a Jolly Rancher or a Nerds type of sweetness. Let's get into the palate.
It smells like a sour apple Jolly Rancher. I expected it to taste sweeter. But there is like a little bit of a Jolly Rancher, sour apple specifically, aftertaste on the roof of my mouth. That
actually, this is the first pour of the day, but that actually came It came across with a lot more zip on the palate.
There's some zip
It's
there.
This is a zippy glass right here.
Zip, zang, zoom.
So a sour apple Jolly Rancher is a fantastic note for this glass because that is really where it's leaning into with a tempered sweetness. It's almost like you left the Jolly Rancher soaking in a little bit of water and it just dissolved and then you drank the water after it fully dissolved.
Ooh, I've done that and that's disgusting.
Okay. Well, that's not this glass because it's not disgusting.
It's not disgusting.
But it kind of tastes like a Jolly Rancher light.
It does.
Did they make those? Jolly Rancher zero sugar?
Like a sugar-free one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Or something like it. It still smells very sweet after tasting it and then smelling it again. Sometimes the smell changes for me, but it still smells very sweet.
All right. Let's get into glass 2. I'm really interested to see how glass 2 compares to glass 1.
Let's do it. So it smells slightly less sweet than glass 1, but not substantially. It has a little more earthiness to the smell, but there's still like an undercurrent of sweetness.
Yeah, it's not as bright and sweet and jumping out of the glasses as glass 1 was on the nose. What is here is a little bit more subdued, but darker, almost like a maple syrup type of note. That's the predominant note that I'm getting in this right now.
I'm not necessarily getting maple syrup, but I'm getting...
It smells heavy, but not strong.
I'm getting more brown sugar, but...
Yeah, well, brown sugar and maple syrup are kind of, they're in the same vein.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, let's get into the palate.
I don't know if it's in comparison to glass 1, but this tastes very light.
I'm not getting that at all. It tastes dark.
Well, okay, I guess, so I don't mean light as in not heavy. I mean light as in not zippy. Like this one didn't do anything to me. This one made me kind of go, whoa, when I drank it.
Yeah, but glass one is definitely, it's the one that's showing out. It's making a scene a little bit. It's very, like we said, zippy.
It's causing a ruckus.
Glass two is, to me, a little bit more balanced on first impressions, at least.
Yeah.
The flavors that are there are very dark, whereas the flavors in glass one are very bright.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to spend some time with these, give them a proper evaluation, if you can even call what we do around here that. But we're going to do that, and then we'll be right back with our full thoughts on both of these glasses. After spending some time with both of these pours, what do you think? Let's start with glass one.
Okay, so glass one for me gets a thumbs up on nose, thumbs up on flavor, and thumbs up on experience.
Coincidentally, glass one for me gets thumbs up on nose, thumbs up on flavor, thumbs up on experience. We'll talk about it in a minute, but let's get into glass two.
Okay.
Where are you at?
Well, glass two gets a thumbs up on nose, thumbs up on flavor, and thumbs up on experience.
Same here. Thumbs up on nose,
really?
Thumbs up on flavor, thumbs up on experience for glass two as well.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. What do you think about these two?
So these were like switching for me. It started out where glass one was just okay on flavor, but then as it opened up more, it became more balanced, which I like balanced flavor. So I ended up giving it a thumbs up. And then glass two, I put down more balanced overall, but then as glass one opened up, I crossed that out. And glass two, I ended up on the flavor, I ended up getting a bit more oak on the flavor. And I didn't love that. Ultimately, they ended up scoring the same because of those, this one got, quote, better, and this one got worse, but not really. That's the thing.
Yeah. So did you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think probably glass one.
Okay.
Maybe, but it's tight.
Okay. I would have guessed you would have picked glass one as a favorite, just based on your knowledge of your flavor profile.
Yeah.
For me, these two, this was a really hard matchup. They're different, and like Aaron said, as they got more air in the glass, 10 minutes in the glass out of the bottle, out of the sample jar, changed these two dramatically as they got air to them.
Mm-hmm.
This one got more balanced and darker. That zippiness went away. This one got a little bit more richer, and it kept its balance, but Aaron is right. It did get more oaky.
Yeah.
So for me, I said glass one. On the nose, I had that white sugar, green apple, Jolly Rancher type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But then as it opened up more, it got a little bit more of a light maple syrup and caramel vibe to it.
Yeah.
On the flavors, I said it was bright on the palate. But then it started bringing in some darker notes too, kind of like a cola, root beer, and then rye spice kind of on the back end. Man, I can't even read my own writing. Oh, average finish and mouthfeel, had a dry, lingering oak finish that was faint. The oak wasn't very strong on glass one, but it was, and it was a little dry, but not in an off-putting way. But it did stick around a little bit. It didn't just disappear.
Yeah.
So glass one was pretty good. I liked it. I like glass one. That's thumbs up across the board. That's what that means. Pretty average. Average product.
Yeah, it's a good solid pour.
Glass two for me, brown sugar, somebody just took a batch of cut up green apples and just dumped brown sugar on top of it for glass two. And
Sounds like the makings of an apple pie.
It's getting there. And I was even I started to go that way with my brain. And then I started trying to talk myself into some cinnamon and some, some nutmeg and things like that in glass two. It didn't quite get there for me, but it had that going on the nose and some oak. And then on the palate, brown sugar. It did have heavy baking spices, a kind of, I say cinnamon, but it wasn't cinnamon forward. It was almost like an allspice or something. I'm not super great with my spices. I don't bake ever. I'll say a lot, but hardly ever I bake. And then oak on the palate. And then on the experience, it had a decent finish. It was quite oily and viscous, especially in the beginning. As I acclimated to it, that died down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But boy, first few sips, it was so oily. It was so nice.
You can even kind of see it in the glass.
Yeah, it kind of leveled out. And then the finish was sweet oak and a little bit of those baking spices sticking around. They were both really good. Honestly, it's a flip of the coin for me.
Yeah.
They're a little different. If I wanted a little bit brighter, I'd go glass one. If I wanted a little bit darker flavor profile, I'd go glass two.
But not even too dissimilar from each other.
Yeah, I hope they're about the same price. I hope they're both available. They're not really striking me as anything super special.
Yeah.
But they are striking me as good.
Yeah.
So let's find out what they are. Let's find out how much these cost first, and then find out what we've been drinking.
Okay.
So we were both a little bit of a coin flip on both of these. So glass number 1 is number 18, and glass number 2 is number 17.
Okay. So they're both $50.
Okay, I was in my brain, I was thinking, I hope they're about $40. Glass 1, number 18.
John J Bowman single barrel?
What?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We'll get into this. Glass 2, number 17.
E.H. Taylor small batch.
Wow.
I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what they mean, but like, is one allocated or something?
Wow. So yeah, wow. So glass 1 is Bowman, single barrel. Glass 2 is E.H. Taylor.
Yep.
This is very odd. Well, so let's start with E.H. Taylor. That's the one we need to start with.
Okay.
E.H. Taylor small batch is allocated a $50 bottle if you get it at retail.
Okay.
But it is allocated. It's hard to get your hands on.
Okay.
In our market, you really have to have a hookup to be able to get it.
Okay.
Or you have to be able to get to a store within like 15 or 20 minutes when they say they're releasing it.
Dropping it, yeah.
And it's always the middle of a work day, and people who have jobs can't go, like us. So you got to have a hookup to get it, as far as I'm concerned. Bowman is also 100 proof. It is a single barrel, so it's going to vary.
Yeah.
And it is Buffalo Trace distillate that is then sent out to Bowman in Virginia, and they run it through their copper pot distillation and then age it out in Virginia. But it's essentially 100 proof Buffalo Trace, and this is 100 proof Buffalo Trace.
Is Bowman allocated or hard to find?
It's not so much that it's allocated, it's just that it doesn't have as wide of a distribution. And in our market, Bowman is one of those hit and miss type of products. Like you can usually get the small batch, you can usually get the port finish, but the single barrel is a little bit harder to get your hands on.
So they're both hard to find.
They are, but you don't have to have a hookup for John J Bowman. It'll go on the shelf when it comes into stock. It's just not a regularly stocked item.
Okay.
So, but you don't have to have a hookup for this if it's distributed in your market. Some people, it's not in their market. Bowman's just not distributed to their state. But we do this based on our market and our availability. That's how our scoring rubric is set up, and you would score things differently, as you should. That's why we have this available to people, so that they can, do it themselves and keep track of things over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of stunned that this is this matchup. This actually did strike me as a Buffalo Trace product on first sniff. But then,
why? Like, what about it?
That kind of like really sugary candy type of note in a classic bourbon profile, but it came across with a lot more zip on the palate than I'm used to. Kind of makes sense. Single barrels do vary, and this one just so happens to have a little bit more of that rye spice kick from the secondary grain, whereas the Taylor honestly didn't strike me like E.H. Taylor typically strikes me. Typically I get a little bit of a brighter florally type of aspect on this non-blind, and it didn't come across that way in a blind. Bottle has been open for a while, but it's sitting in its tube out of light, so it shouldn't degrade or anything like that. It might just be changing a little bit over time. So like I said, I wish both of these were about $40. They're both about $50. That's within the margin. I'm happy to spend that.
Okay.
Let's talk about our consumer metrics, the stuff that's really important to us as real world people, our retail and consumer scores.
We don't live in the metaverse.
Right. So what do you think? Let's start with glass 1, Bowman.
Man, you're putting me on the spot. Okay. I mean, for $50, it's good. I kind of like the Jolly Rancher situation, so I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though it's cyclically released, you can get it on the shelf when it comes out.
Because I'm not going to oh my gosh, I have to have it every second of the day. But if it comes out for retail, look, I'd like to get it.
And then it's sitting on the shelf in front. I mean, it's kind of, you just answered this, but it's sitting on the shelf in front of you for $50. We're out of our bottle. Well, technically, we are out of our bottle as of the filming of this. We just finished it off this last week. Did not have any familiarity with this. $50. Are you buying it?
That actually puts it into a different perspective, because I honestly couldn't care less if we have it in the house or not.
Oh, snap.
Because we have other things I like more.
At that price point?
At that price point. I like this, but I don't like it so much that I would be like, okay, if we have $50 to spend, would I buy John J Bowman or something else? I'd probably buy something else. So I'm going to give it just okay on consumer score.
Okay.
Oh gosh. That scares me. I was planning to give it a thumbs up, but it gets just okay.
as they both sit here, and both of these bottles have been open for a while, but they're getting a little bit more vanilla-y as they sit here in the air, and I'm liking that a lot. But Bowman, I'm going to give a just okay on retail score. I can see your thumbs up, and I would, at 40, I'm thumbs up. At 50, I'm just okay. It's starting to push into that territory where if I'm going to part with $50, there are quite a few other things in that price point that I would just rather have, to be quite frank. But would I buy it again if it's sitting on a shelf? We just finished our bottle this past week. I'm thumbs up. I'm buying Bowman. I'm actually looking for a bottle of Bowman right now. Okay. We stopped at a store earlier today to look for this, and I didn't even have any clue.
Stopped.
Yeah, I didn't have any clue that it was going to be in here.
That's funny.
So there you go. It's a store that usually has it if it's in stock at that time, but they were out. Just the way it goes. They had small batch and they had the port finish. We'll keep checking that store for more Bowman single barrel. With that said, let's get into Glass 2 E.H. Taylor small batch. Where are you at on retail and consumer scores?
If it's really, really, really hard to get, then I'm just going to give it just okay.
No.
Because I ain't about to play that game, personally.
But if it's $50 and it's sitting on a shelf in front of you, what do you think?
I mean, I'm about the same with the John J Bowman. Like,
yeah,
it's good, but I probably would buy something else with those $50.
Yeah.
It's good. That's
so where you at?
I'm at just okay.
Okay.
Like, it's not bad, but I wouldn't buy it.
So for me, I'm going to go thumbs down on E.H. Taylor. More people are looking for it in our market. It's getting harder and harder to find. You got to have a hookup. And quite frankly, you know, when you can get something like Bowman for the same price or a ton of other things for $50, I'm just starting to not see the value in E.H. Taylor small batch. It's a really enjoyable pour. I really liked it. But if you got to have a hookup to get it, you're already starting out at a thumbs down and you got to work your way up from there. And it just simply didn't in this blind tasting for me. Now, with that said, if it's sitting on a shelf in front of me or I get offered to buy it for $50, I'm a thumbs up. I'm buying it. I'd like to keep a bottle of this round. I do like to keep a bottle of this round for guests to have as an occasional pour for us. Fun bottle to have around, but I'm not going to lose any sleep or cry any tears if this is not available and we never get another bottle again. It's just the way it is. It's kind of fun, but forgettable ultimately.
We get our real world scores by adding up the thumbs you see on the screen.
There are 10 possible points available, but this ain't Buffalo Trace's 10-point scoring system.
No, it's more like a bell curve.
We found out that when you taste stuff totally blind, you don't really know whether you're supposed to like it or not. You don't know you're sipping E.H. Taylor small batch and people are paying $65, $70, $80, $90 for this marked up or more. Like, you just don't know. So we let the glasses do the talking, and then we make our evaluations based on what the glasses told us.
And then some bottles
we're just here to listen. We're just here to listen to the glasses. That's all. And then we relay that message to you guys. So
yeah, something like that.
Let's get into it. Glass 1, John J Bowman single barrel. Where are you at for real world score?
All right, so it gets a 4.5 out of 10, which is on the lower end, but in the middle. Like, it's good.
Still in the middle of that bell curve.
It's a solid pour.
That's how bell curves work. Most things are in the 4 to 6 range because we think most things kind of fall in that range when you're tasting totally blind. It's a 4.5 for me as well on real world score. Let's get into E.H. Taylor small batch. Glass number 2, where are you at on real world score?
So it gets a 4 out of 10. So it's slightly less, but still in that midpoint range.
Yeah.
Again, solid pour.
I would say for me, it's a 4 as well. And I would say that these are accurate scores. I tend to think of like after we get these scores, I think to myself, are these accurate to the experience non-blind? And truth be told, we've had both of these in enough blind tastings over time that I think that's accurate. The price point's a little high. There's just a lot of 100 proof stuff that's equally as good on the market for the same or less money. And quite frankly, there's other things that are a little bit higher proof, a little bit more complex and flavorful that we would prefer to have in that $50 price point as well. So that's why these score where they did for us.
But if you like lower proof,
they're good.
Yeah, if
they're
you
good.
like just a 100 proof pour, they have good flavor if you're not into higher proof.
Yeah, they're definitely don't not buy them. Buy them if you get the opportunity to buy them at retail. I wouldn't overpay personally for either one of these. We're kind of dipping our same thing we always do here. We're kind of dipping our toes in the who are these four waters. Let's get into that now. I think these are for anybody who hasn't ever tried them and you have the opportunity to buy them at $50. If you do buy them at $50, I would recommend putting them in some blind tastings with some other comparable $30, $40, $50, 100 proof bottles.
See which you like more. So that way you know if you want to buy it again or not.
Exactly. Go on Amazon, search 2-ounce Boston Round, get you a label maker or some sticky labels and put some numbers on the bottom. Pour things in, mix them all up, taste it blind. See if E.H. Taylor really meets your expectations, because there are people who are paying $70, $80, $90, $100+ for a bottle of this.
And I personally wouldn't, but if it was my favorite bourbon of all time, maybe I would.
Well, I think this is I think these are both fantastic $40 whiskeys. I think they're good $50 whiskeys. $60, I think the value side of the equation starts to get a little lopsided, and any more than that, I'm out. I'm not buying either one of these for any more than $55 or $60, and probably I'm a pass above 50.
Is it because they're 100 proof? What if they were higher proof?
It's a flavor, a concentration of flavor and a lack of complexity for both of them for me. It's not that they're not complex at all, and not that they're not flavorful, because they do have some flavor and some complexity. But Knob Creek 9 years sitting on the shelf for $35, and there's a lot of other 100 proof port. Four Roses single barrel sits on our shelves for $40 and offers a somewhat similar fruity profile to both of these. Single barrel, so it varies. But honestly, I'd rather have a Four Roses single barrel than either one of these. That would be one of the bottles I'd recommend getting and putting in a blind against either one of these two. So anyways, I think they're good. I think they're worth checking out. I don't think either one are personally worth overpaying for.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you're presented with the opportunity and you've never had it, it might be worth a try for you.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind that I think they're priced pretty accordingly to where they should be.
Thank you so much for watching.
If you're new around here, be sure to join in the conversation in the comments below. Let us know what you think about these two if you've had them. And be sure to hit the bell down there so that you know when our next live stream is coming up, so you can join in on the conversation over there as well. We also do a charity fundraiser every October. If you want more information on that, how you might be able to win some amazing bottles, or if you want to donate stuff to the giveaway for that, hit us up at stuffandwhiskey@gmail.com, and we can begin a conversation ourselves one-on-one to get all the information over there. That's it for this week, guys. Till next week. Cheers.
I'm gonna take some reverse.
Oh.
Reverse. Everybody clap your hands.
That's the only part of that song I like.
Everything I love that part.
No, the rest of it's terrible.
I like that song.
No, it's awful.
It's the best wedding reception.
No, that's not. Of like the choreographed dance
The Cupid
songs?
Shuffle.
It's either the Cupid Shuffle or the Wobble. Although the Wobble's not really like a choreographed.
I was never able to do the Wobble, so therefore I don't like it.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I can't do any of it anyways.
That in of itself just is enjoyment.
I think the only dance move I can do very well is the Bernie.
You can do that really well.
Yeah. You just got to commit to it. Although I'm getting older now, and the last time I did it, I almost threw my back out. So gotta be careful.
That checks out. How's it coming?
Getting there. You can't rush quality. And apparently you can't rush substandard work either.